Alright guys, finally gonna install the exhaust, the exhaust gaskets came in, so pretty excited. Okay, so I'll try and be as thorough and stuff as I can be, but I can't film everything, you know. But it does tell you what all you need, so it's pretty thorough. So we're gonna have to remove these plastic clips right here, and there's one underneath. Then it asks us to remove this bolt down here. Then it'll ask us to remove the chain sprocket cover, which is right here, these two bolts, and that'll give us access to the sensor, which is going to be routed through here. Then it'll ask us to unscrew the header bolts down there, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'll probably just break them loose and just leave them hanging there till I get to removing the big one down here, but that's for a later part. So let's get that done, and then I'll show y'all what's next. Just for reference, these clips down here, this top one goes up here, and what you'll want to do is just slide in a flathead in here, pop that out, and whenever that comes out, you can just pull it out. This bottom one down here has a different type of fastener, and it looks like this. So what you'll want to do is you want to get something to press that on the bottom, that center inside, and it'll pop in like that, and then you can just slide it out of there. The rest are just going to be bolts and then hex tools. So we'll be unscrewing this lower bolt here. So I have this tool here, and I'll just insert it and break that bolt loose, and then just loosen it till it comes out. And just make sure that you keep everything together the way it is. So it's the bolt, and then it's like a washer, and then like a plastic washer. So just try to keep everything the way it was whenever you took it off. I like to keep my bolts and stuff in like a little plastic tray. So that's loose. These plastic clips are out. Now we'll take off the chain sprocket cover, and that's going to be a 5/16 or an 8mm to remove this plastic cover off of here. So one bolt, put that into my tray. Two bolts. See how easy that came out? And just make sure that you keep everything the way it was, organized. Here's the cover. So we took off the two plastic clips down here, unbolted that screw down there, took the two bolts that took the cover off. So we're ready to go on to the next step. The next step is asking us to break the two header bolts loose and remove them. So we'll see what the next step is. Then it's asking us to break the sensor out of the collector. So, and then it'll ask us to remove the shift lever. So let's go ahead and do that. Like I said, keep everything organized. First, you'll want to see what size these header bolts are going to be. This is a 13, so I'm gonna guess a 12, because that one was kind of loose. Okay, so it'll be a 12. Excuse the filming, guys. It's kind of hard to do this. Huh. So I found that just turning the wheel will open up this space so you can get these bolts out. So just turn the wheel over and it'll be easier. Just make sure that it's not, you know, coming off of your mounts back there, because the last thing you want is this motorcycle to fall. So just remember that. So we're almost there, and then we'll do the rest of this stuff over here. Okay, so I got the header bolts loose and they're just hanging there. So now it's gonna ask us to take this O2 sensor out. And me, I don't have, I think it asked for a 17. The header bolts were 12, by the way, for those that were wondering, 12 millimeter. And what I'll do is I'll just break that and then just unscrew it. Sorry, guys. There it is. And it's going to ask us to remove it up here later on. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. It's just underneath this little plastic, this little cover here. I guess it's covering it from all the lubricant from the sprocket. So just unclip it. So. We'll get to it, or eventually I'll figure it out. The next thing is for us to break this shift lever bolt. So we'll do that now. So and just make sure that we keep everything the way it is. So this has a washer on the back side. So let's just be careful to leave it like that. The next step is removing the muffler bracket bolt. So we'll be removing that one out there. And it is a 12 millimeter, so we'll break that loose. So it looks like we need to get something to hold this side. Okay. Why? So I figured out. No. Got a swivel head in there. Pretty tight fit, but we'll get it. So just hold that one.
Hold what?
She's helping me. What? Hold it. Hold that ratchet down there.
Oh, just hold it.
Yep. Just hold it. Is it fitted? Mm-hmm. You hold it tight. I think it worked, guys. Stop playing around. Alright, your services are no longer needed. Alright guys, so this was the hardest part. So what I did was a 1/4 inch, couple extensions, and a swivel to get that bolt out back there. That was pretty hard. Alright, so now all we have to do is finish pulling this bolt out, and then we'll unscrew the headers, which we'll go ahead and do that right now since the exhaust is already pretty much loose. And we'll take that out and it should all just collapse. Remember, keep your bolts in a safe place. So. Okay. 4 bolts. So let's go ahead and find a way to secure this right here. Okay, so a little spacer came out. Okay. Let's move to this other side, and maybe we'll have a better angle. How we're gonna take this out, so go ahead, put these boxes.
So, there it is.
And remember, guys, to remove the old washers out of there and put your new ones in there. Just for reference, guys. So I got one out, and I had to get a little bitty screwdriver, and it was kind of pesky because you don't want to scratch any of these surfaces, but I got them out. Just, you know, make sure you remove them and replace them. So right now I'll probably get some degreaser and I'll put it on a rag and I'll clean these up just to clean the mating surfaces for the next gaskets to put in, and we'll go from there. So since we have these out right now, we can go ahead and kind of compare the way they are. I mean, you can already kind of tell. Flanges are a little different. This one's connected in the middle. This one is not. These are kind of really close together. These are more spaced apart. O2 sensor will go here. This one had a bigger collector, I guess you'd call it. But this exhaust is freaking huge, man. Pretty sure everybody here knows how to install headers, but for those that don't, remember we took out the gaskets out, so now we'll put header in right here.
You still have your book?
Okay, so we got the gaskets in, and we'll just slide these up in here like this. Look at that. So just to get these in here for now, we'll put one screw in here, or one nut in tight, and then we'll go to the other side. And make sure whenever you're installing these springs that this one is on the bottom. So what you'll do is you'll rotate it the other way around, and we'll put it right there. I'm pretty sure this would be easier with a socket, so I'll just grab my socket and we'll just slightly hand tighten them from here. So try and do it in stages. Don't just clamp them all down at the same, all at once. As you can tell, this one over here, in there, or we'll just go ahead and start. Okay. So as you can see, The reason I wanted you to have these springs on the bottom is because they will be connecting to this right here, this hanger. And that will be for the same one over here. So now we're at the step where it is asking us to install the hanger or the bracket onto the exhaust. It's so pretty, I'm so excited. Install this bracket that comes in the bag onto this. Make sure you read the instructions closely because it does go a certain way. So the picture shows the exhaust facing that way, and the bracket this way. Okay, so it says we'll be using these 4 bolts that are in this little bag that you got. And this bag comes a couple of other bolts, and it's even got some bolt sealant for you to use. So you have a couple of different bolts. The bolts that we'll be using is these dome-shaped hex tool bolts, and there's 4 of them. So we'll use those 4. And make sure you do not lose any of these bolts because you will use those later to attach the bracket to the motorcycle itself. So set these to the side. So it also says here to use the bolt sealant on that. So it says we need some sort of scissors. My scissors so we'll cut that off, and it says put drops on these bolts. So here's one. And whenever I install bolts like this, I like to go across from each other, kind of, you know, not just in this order. Torque wrench, and on the torque wrench it wants you to take it down to 16 pounds. So we got those torqued down. Oop. For those that have stuck around or are still watching, we're gonna pull these springs back into these hangers right here, into these. And I have a tool to make this a lot easier. It's like 10 bucks. So we'll pull those and we'll connect them into these hangers right here. And look at that. We'll be torquing these down when we have everything put together. It's what it says, but this is the step we're at now where we put the springs on. So on this step, guys, it's going to ask us to put this extension harness onto the sensor that we relocated earlier. So we'll pull this back through here, and so it was actually pretty simple to take out. There's a little clip here that you push up and it'll pull up. So it gives us an extension harness to make this longer. So let's just make sure that we remember how this was routed. That way we can put it back the same way. So that'll clip in there like that. And then this will go back under this metal fastener right here, just like that. And make sure that we put this sleeve back over the sensor. I guess it's so the chain isn't slinging all that grease all over it. And flip it back that way, so it's not interfering with anything here. So in your instructions too, it has a way to route it. So we'll just be following their instructions. So here's the sensor, the extension harness. Sorry guys, so my camera died. So I unclipped it, and I'm gonna go ahead and install this because I feel more comfortable twisting it and whatnot whenever it's not attached. See?
Just go ahead and do this. Just go ahead. You're already there. Just go ahead and unattach it. Really, it's not all that much harder. We'll just go ahead and make sure it's snug.
Now y'all can probably see how it was routed. So it comes through here.
Excuse the horrible angles, guys. So we'll connect this back.
Alright, so now it's asking us to install the exhaust onto here. So remember those bolts that we had? Make sure that all of your original bushings and washers are still in here. You will be reusing those, so let's go ahead and get it started. So we'll be using these bolts, and they'll come with washers, so you'll have two, one on each side. So let's go ahead and try and install it. So go ahead and hook it onto here, slide it on there. Okay, so there you go. Now the hard part is going to be putting the bolts in. Alright guys, so after a little bit of elbow grease and just, you know, trying to get in there, trying to make sure I didn't strip it. Both of these will be facing each other when you screw them in. I still have to torque them down. Just make sure you don't strip them. The last thing you want to do is to strip these, and then you're kind of SOL. So those are hand tightened. I'll be putting on the spring clips here in a sec, and then yeah, we should be ready to rock and roll after we put everything back on, tighten the header bolts, put the shifter back on and all the plastics, and make sure we just screw everything back down. We should be ready to rock and roll. So now we'll just go ahead and tighten these springs up. So we'll go ahead and tighten this onto here. So we'll do this side first since y'all are right here. And all it is take your tool and you pull it up on there. And do this before you tighten those down, because those will set into place whenever you tighten this stuff back on. And we'll do the same thing with this one back here. We'll just pull it with the tool. And look at that. There it goes. And we'll be tightening these bolts to 16 pounds. And that will also go to the same thing for the header bolts. So I'll do that, and then and tighten the header bolts as well. And then I'll put all the plastics on, and then we'll be ready to go. So that was pretty much the last part. Everything else from here on out is just putting everything back together. So don't forget to torque all these bolts down. I just torqued down the muffler bolts down there. The exhaust bolts and the muffler bolts are both going to be 16 pounds. So make sure you torque them down properly. This is a 12 millimeter, so and I'll kind of just torque them down little by little. That way they're not just being seated all at once. And okay. Just double check. Okay, look at that. So now we'll go, since we're right here, we can go ahead and install these plastic clips right here. Let me go ahead and get those. So we have to put on the shifter, the plastics, and then these. And that should be it. And these came in today, so these are pretty excited on these. I had to get adapter plates and then these, but we'll worry about that later. Alright guys, so I'm just simply installing all the plastics back. Double checked all the bolts, make sure everything was tightened up. Originally this was only supposed to take about, 2, tops maybe 3 hours. I've been out here for a couple of hours trying to figure this out. The hardest part was taking and installing that bolt in the back for the exhaust. I think it was harder to remove the old exhaust from that spot without taking off the brake lever. That's the only thing that's in the way, the whole rear set is. But I ended up getting a swivel to remove it, and that was easy. And then to install the new bolts, I had to use a wrench. Couldn't do it with the ratchet and the swivel. It was not enough room. So I'm glad I got that out of the way, because that was the hardest part, I think. The rest of it was pretty simple. So, I mean, I used to work on like Civics and stuff, but this is my first motorcycle I've ever worked on, so if I can do it, you can do it. So. Just make sure that you put all the bolts back where they belong. Like, some of these were color coded, so that was pretty cool. I want to say that wasn't 8. I hope so.
You're so cute. What?
I'm filming. Get out of here.
How cute.
Uh-oh. This is probably the best part, is whenever you're finishing and, you know. And also too, just make sure that you do not see any loose bolts underneath. Like I said, you want to make sure that you organize all your bolts. Like I kept them in here, so that way I know I'm not missing anything. So stay organized. Alright, so let's just double check, make sure we got everything. Alright, no loose bolts. Okay, this is on, this is on, that's on, that's on. This is tightened, those are just put in. muffler bolts were both torqued down. This was torqued down. Springs are on. The muffler, the header bolts were on. Don't worry about that. We'll put that on later. So here it is, the finished product. Let's see what she sounds. All right, guys. So, see what she sounds like. First start.